What would it do for you and your family to make 6 figures in the next 12 months? How would that make you feel? But some remain vulnerable.
So what do they learn in the training?
There is a solution. Self-reliance is a core value of being an American. Once you learn how to make 6 figures listing luxury homes, your world changes. No boss, your own schedule. It's empowering.
12 sessions, 6 figures, 12 months. What would it do for you in your life? How would that make you feel?
Once you learn how to thrive on your own, life becomes a lot more fun.
Yeah!
My name is Scott Farrow, founder of Thrive California, and welcome to our new training entitled How to Make 6 Figures in the Next 12 Months Selling Homes Starting from Scratch. That is the title because that is our goal. 12 weeks, 6 figures, 12 months. Who's in? Week 1 is about self-reliance. We'll explore what's driving you, possibly reveal previously unforeseen personal power, and much more. Week 2 is the network. Once our core values are uncovered and our motivation is clarified, we will direct our attention to building a powerful referral network. In week 2, we will reveal the most important dialogues of your entire real estate career. Week 3 is about buyers. We will learn to manage multiple buyers at the same time without driving yourself crazy, and how to only work with buyers that are ready and able to buy now and have you represent them. We'll also learn how to ensure buyers are loyal to you and only to you. Week 4 is a very big training. It's about becoming a dominant listing agent in your target market, or some people call a farm. We all know that the money in this business isn't getting the listings, so this is a critical week and a critical training. Week 5 is the listing presentation. You must have a killer listing presentation on your laptop and know how to present it. This is showtime. So ask yourself, are you ready for showtime? Because you have one shot at getting the listing. Do you know how to get a listing even before you do the listing presentation? We'll reveal that very powerful insight in week 5. Week 6 is the seller whisperer, and we'll learn to set seller expectations, how to manage sellers, and how to set up your listings for price reductions so you can get your listings closed and get paid. Week 7 is Sales Skills 1. This is a brand new topic for Thrive and will arm you with skills to be an effective closer. You're all in sales, you make your money in sales, but how often do you study your craft? Week 8 is the art of negotiation. We are always negotiating. So if you're armed with sales skills and you can negotiate with finesse, you can become a powerful force and will have a new level of confidence in your work. Week 8 will also teach you how to be the center of the storm and move transactions to a successful conclusion. Week 9 is lead generation, another new topic. We will discuss buyer leads, of course, but our main focus will be on generating seller leads for new listings. Week 11 is outcome visioning. As we know, it's very hard to hit a target you cannot see. So week 11 will be an opportunity to design your life and go for it. Week 12 is Alpha, another new training. To be clear, Alpha, in the way we mean it, is gender neutral. We will explore how to move from beta to alpha and win, because your clients want you to lead them to a successful conclusion of their transaction. They need you to be their leader. And once you move from beta to alpha, who knows, maybe good things will also appear in other areas of your life. Self-reliance. Why self-reliance? Because it's the American dream. Freedom and self-reliance are core values of America. It's why America was formed, to be free of the British Crown, to have freedom in government, freedom of religion, freedom of trade, and most importantly, freedom from tyranny. Americans are strong individuals and will not be ruled. This is part of our DNA as Americans, and this foundation evolves naturally to the desire to be self-employed. And hopefully that makes sense to you. You see, what all of you do for a living is very American in its core. Why are you here? This is a very profound question worth exploring. Why do you want the knowledge of how to make six figures? And what's important about making six figures? Most of us would answer, it's the money, of course. But what will the money do for you? Is there something driving you beyond just making a lot of money? And buying stuff is not an acceptable answer. We want to look deeper. So some common answers usually have to do with moving towards pleasure or moving away from pain. For example, paying down debt, buying a home, that's a positive. Children's education, that's a positive. Stability, security, quit your day job. You need money because you've got laid off. You want a new career, you need a new career. So these are very common answers. But answer this for yourself. How would it feel to be truly self-reliant with no boss? You can't get fired. You can't get laid off. You're not dependent on anyone else. For many, when they self-reflect, the reason they want to be a real estate agent is freedom and self-reliance. They want to be the masters of their own destiny. This is the core value for many of us. And I invite you to look within and ask these questions for yourself. Those who become most successful are those that are clear about why. In other words, what motivates them, what's really their core values. Why do you want to do this? If you can't answer it clearly and immediately, reflection is needed, clarity is needed. See, your answer to why drives everything forward, or not. So we want to ask ourselves why. And if being self-reliant is one of your core values, let's explore that just a little bit further. To be self-reliant, secure, and independent, and avoid being let down by others, we really want to contemplate our why. In addition, we want to know what's really at stake here, and that is your dream. But not just any dream. What's at stake here is your American dream. This is about you living your American dream, your dream of success, freedom, self-reliance, and fulfillment. That's what we're playing for. And only when you put it all out there, only when you're all in, holding nothing back, day after day after day, you can achieve it. Once we get clear on why, we're left with how. So how are we going to make six figures in the next 12 months? Some of you may say, well, the answer to that question is obvious. I'm going to sell a lot of homes. But I would suggest to you that that is not how. That is the answer to what. So now we know that our why relates to being truly self-reliant. But let's explore how. By learning the knowledge and skills to create relationships and build a network of advocates, that is how we're going to make six figures. By challenging the status quo in our industry and being relationship builders, not just salespeople. Yes, you need sales skills. Yes, you need great communication skills. But we build relationships by earning the trust of those people that are our prospects and clients. That is our how. The what is, and oh, by the way, we're selling real estate. So most folks don't really contemplate what they're doing in this way by uncovering their core values and understanding how they're going to do it has actually nothing to do with real estate. The what is the real estate part. We get to that last. So we've discussed how important it is to get clarity on your why, your core values. You also need grit, consistent, energetic, tenacious, resilient commitment. The people that succeed in our business just will not quit. And that goes hand in hand with a burning desire to succeed. So number 2 and 3 here, grit and the burning desire, is really up to you. I can't train those into you. You have to bring those to the table. But there's also a fourth, which is finding your personal power. So before we begin our journey together, we must take the blinders off and see with our new eyes. To take the blinders off, we must be in the present and ask yourself this question: are you willing to challenge conventional wisdom? We want you to challenge conventional wisdom and see yourself in a new way. So to challenge conventional wisdom, let's contemplate how you would describe your life story in 2 minutes. So I invite you now to close your eyes and think about how you would explain your life, who you are, what's happened to you over the course of your life in just a couple of minutes. So now that you've done that, many answers that I hear are basically historical narratives. I'm an engineer, I was born in, I grew up in, my parents moved to, I played such and such in high school, I went to such and such college. After school, I went to work for this company, then that company. I got married, we had kids, I'm a fan of this sports team, etc., etc. So these are very common sense, typical answers. Of course, everybody has a different answer, but basically they're the historical narrative of what's transpired in your past, if that makes sense. And I've probably described something similar to how you've answered the question or the challenge or the request of describing your life story in 2 minutes. But then, if we asked a question that is very profound, who are you? How would you answer that question? So in answering this question, who are you? Typical answers to that question is their name. I'm Jim, I'm Jane. Some may say I'm a tenacious achiever, or some other description of themselves, some adjective. Some may say, well, I'm my mind, or I'm the voice in my head. This voice in the head answer is interesting, because if you're really your voice in your head, try to stop it. And some will kind of think that they're the character in the story that they've just told us about their life in 2 minutes. So what we're discovering here is there's variations on answering the question, who are you? But none of them really ring true, do they? Because notice the question is not what are you, or where are you, or where did you come from, but who are you? So if many of us answer that question in terms of a historical narrative, like we're the character in the story we've just told, well, where did that story occur? It occurred in the past, didn't it? So we know that this historical narrative is not really a good answer to who we are. It may describe where we came from, but it's really nothing other than a story, and we've described a character in the story in the past. But wait, just for a moment, let's imagine you had amnesia. How would you answer the question, who are you? We clearly could not use some type of historical narrative to answer the question. We couldn't even use some type of current description related to activities, what we like, what we do, who we're married to, labels, adjectives. None of those would work with a person truly that had amnesia. I know this is hypothetical, but it's an interesting question because it will reveal something for us. So a person with amnesia still can think, read, write, has other faculties of reasoning, but may struggle answering the question, who are you? So let's just contemplate that for a moment. So as we contemplate that, none of these answers would be available to us, obviously. We wouldn't know where we were born, who we were married to, none of these things. We wouldn't know our political persuasions, our religion, etc. So we would be kind of a blank canvas, would we not? So who are you now? This hypothetical situation of a person with amnesia reveals a dilemma, doesn't it? But there's something powerful lurking here. Do you sense it? So to uncover what's lurking here, if we reflect for a moment on these typical answers, I was born in, I grew up in, and all these different things, how a person with amnesia would handle this, we're left with the question, who created this narrative to begin with? Who decided this is our story? And who decided any adjective that we related to the question, who are you? So let's take a look at this. Who created your historical narrative, and who decided that you are this or that? So who is the author? You see, outside our dramatic narratives, there is something that you know now that you did not know. And it's from this place that you can transform the quality of not just your career, but of your life. What this inquiry reveals to us is that your personal power is enhanced when you see yourself as the author, not the story, not a character in the story, not an adjective, not a label. And if you stay with this inquiry for a moment, we will discover that you're not limited by the stories of your past or the concepts or the stories even 1 minute ago, and that you have the power as the author to create a new context at any moment. You can just change the story. And what that leads us to is the present and the future. Seeing yourself as the author and not the character can reveal great power to you to create a life of your design, not limited by the past. And as we know, the past doesn't equal the future. You've all probably heard someone say, well, he or she reinvented himself or herself. But what does that really mean? Because what's available to you is at any moment you can free yourself of the past and create yourself to be whatever you want to be. You see, another way to look at this is if all these answers in this historical narrative, or even a current narrative or explanation, are boxes. Your job, your family, your love life, your marriage, your career, your hobbies, your political beliefs, your religion. If each one of those major categories in your life is a box, right? Just kind of think of it that way for a moment. Being the author means you're the box that holds all the boxes. Some people will call that being a context creator. And not to dwell too far into this topic, but that's where your personal power really lies, because you can change your state and change the trajectory of your future at any moment. So we hope that this discussion at least starts to pose some questions to you that can take you away from being limited by your past and move more to a blank canvas and create a fabulous blueprint for your future. We need some clarity on traps that our minds tend to play on us. We call these vicious circles, and they take on typically 4 forms: excuses, rationalizations, justifications, and laying blame. The reason that these traps are so powerful and dangerous to us are that there are payoffs. The payoff usually takes the form of, I am not responsible. An internal scam that your mind runs on you like a machine we call a racket. Sometimes you can recognize when your mind starts running rackets on you by how a sentence starts. I can't, because, if only that was, etc. These are the beginning of excuses, rationalizations, justifications, laying blame, etc. It's not that we're bad people. We're all like this. It's just the way we are wired. But there's a cost here. The cost of these rackets are aliveness, vitality, productivity, and freedom. So what we've discovered is that our personal power is enhanced when you get or understand that we have rackets going all the time, that little voice in your head that sometimes can hold us back. And I suggest you just let them be and focus on designing and creating a new story in the present and designing your new future without limitations connected to the past, because as we know, the past does not equal the future. This will give you an opportunity to create a new context for your career and your life. So the path to enhancing your personal power involves seeing yourself in a new way as the author, not just a character or a victim, being open to transform, and getting clear on the vicious circle scams that our mind tends to play on us to hold us back. So start now. Design your future, because it's within your power to do so. So now let's redirect our attention back to real estate from this new powerful place we've just discovered. So we want to get very clear on our priorities. Number one, we're relationship builders, first and foremost. 2, we want to concentrate on getting listings. And 3, the buyer deals, the best buyer deals, will come as a result of 1 and 2. There is one thing. What I mean by that is, on several occasions, agents have asked me, to be successful, what's the most important thing to concentrate on? I gave them an even more profound answer. There is one thing you must master to reach 6 figures and beyond in 12 months. And that one thing is time block. Time blocking must be your religion as it relates to your business. Time blocking is your savior, will lead you from temptation, will help you get out of the vicious circle, will save you from yourself, and needs to become a habit of your daily work. Time blocking separates the successful from the mediocre, the efficient from the inefficient, the productive from the unproductive, and creates consistent cash flow as compared to the trials and tribulations of crisis management, which is the state of affairs that consumes the energy of most real estate agents. So specifically, when I refer to time blocking, I'm referring to blocking out 2 to 3 hours a day for prospecting and networking phone calls, typically in the morning, and then figure out time for everything else. And everything else is everything else, including contracts, counters, inspections, taking your car into the shop, etc. But there's something else. To do this effectively, you must schedule appointments in your calendar with yourself for these time block sessions. You should schedule yourself when your energy is at a peak. For most people, it usually is somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock a.m. starting time to lunchtime. And then the afternoon you can hit the field. So take a look at this visualization. You want your career to look like the graphic on the left or the one in the lower right. So what business are you in? Or what business do you think you're in? So what business are you in? Or what business do you think you're in? I would suggest you're in the direct marketing business. So let me explain. Time blocking is critical because of the business you're really in. You're in direct marketing first, and that drives relationship creation and nurturing, and then you get to real estate sales. So we want you to schedule appointments in your calendar with yourself for these time blocks. For example, sit down here at the end of the training and schedule 9 to 11:30 for the next 5 business days in your calendar. If you don't do this simple task and stick to it, it's highly likely that you will not make 6 figures. The reason is because human beings are justification and excuse manufacturing machines. And one more point, it's natural for us to procrastinate. So when you have time blocking as part of your routine and you actually schedule it in your calendar, it's a reminder every day of what you should be doing. There are some time blocking rules as follows. Sometimes you must just sit there. No Facebook, no social media, no email, no web surfing, no distractions, no excuses. When you're in your time block session, it's about using your CRM and making phone calls. That's it. So the big secret to success is time blocking daily. Great secrets sometimes hide in plain sight. I think you'll agree. But there's also a little secret that you may want to know. And that little secret is that what you measure improves. So you must measure. The good news is you can make measuring a game and make it fun. But there's some bad news that typically goes with this, and that is that 95% of the agents won't do it. I'm just estimating that percentage, but it's a very high percentage. And it's the reason most real estate agents produce mediocre results. So the opportunity for you now, at this moment, is to make a command decision that you will measure daily in your time blocking sessions. And I'll give you specifics here of how to do it. You must make measuring part of your daily routine because measuring will tell the truth when you won't. But think about it this way. If you fake the measurements, who are you cheating? Can you imagine trying to sell a house where the carpenters decided that they did not want to measure their work? So isn't your career just as important? This is a tally sheet. You can find tally sheets in the online resource center in the prospecting folder. You can produce these as just Word documents, a single page documents with lines on them like your one you're seeing on the screen now, or you can have them in an Excel spreadsheet and get a little bit more sophisticated and have them do totals for you. But in the beginning, I suggest you just use a tally sheet by hand in your new time blocking sessions, when you're doing your telemarketing, and outline what you've accomplished for the day by doing the hash marks. How many hours, how many FSBO people you spoke to expired, your people network, people in your farm, etc. So you can create categories of people that make the most sense for you. But this is just an example of a pretty efficient tally sheet to start measuring your performance. So you're left with a choice. You can commit to this new process and really increase your odds at making six figures in the next 12 months. Or you could stay on the road that you're on and risk having mediocre results. The choice is up to you. So when you make the choice to start prospecting daily using time blocking and measuring, you then can start focusing on hitting your numbers. So this six figures calculation is very enlightening. What we have learned through time, myself and other coaches, is it takes about 100 contacts to generate a listing. In this calculation on the screen, we're being conservative and doubling that it takes 200 contacts to get a listing. We know that's not true, but what this will reveal, even being conservative using twice the typical measurement, is that if it takes 200 contacts to get a listing, you can produce $250,000 in income with just 50 contacts a week. Pretty amazing. We're also assuming a couple of your listings, about 10%, will be double-sided, and there will buyer deals being spun off from listings. In other words, the more listings you have, the more quality buyers you tend to meet. So we know that listings produce additional income. That's how these calculations are done. So in summary of this calculation, 50 contacts a week equates to approximately 200 a month, which equates to one listing. So little over 12 listings a year, based on an average sales price of about $600,000, which was calculated out of the Conejo Valley, but Southern California has, obviously variations in price, but they're all very expensive homes. So that's how these commission amounts were calculated, and it's 2.5 times the goal of six figures. So this is what's available to you as an opportunity to make significant income if you just start to structure your business based on our coaching. Here is a very interesting insight. The value of a no. What does that mean? We know that it takes about 100 contacts to get a listing. So that means 99 no's, quote unquote no's. Most of those will be valuable contacts to you in the future. But for this discussion, let's just assume they're clear 99 no's. So only one person out of 100 actually resulted in a listing. And if you're in a San Fernando Valley, south of the Boulevard, Westlake Village, Orange County, closer to the ocean, West LA, your average sales price is going to be pretty significant. We're using an example here of a sales price of $950,000. And we're also assuming, if you're new in the training, your first 3 deals are on a 70-30 split before you even hit 100%. And that so your commission would be about $17,500 just doing one side of a listing at $950,000, if that makes sense. And we know that there'll be a number of buyer sales spun off from listings, so we're using the factor of 3, meaning it takes 3 listings to do one buyer deal. So we're taking a third of that commission that would be generated from buyer transactions. So then we have 17.5 plus 5,833 to get a total commission generated by the listing of 23,333. And if we divide that by the 99 no's, we're left with $235.69. So what that means is when you're sitting there prospecting and you get no after no after no, every time you make a contact, even if it doesn't result in a transaction, it's actually earning you $235. Pretty significant income on a phone call that goes nowhere. Another way to look at how lucrative your business can be when you're a master prospector. So now we know you must master networking. And this is really important. Errors in quality are okay, errors in quantity are not. What do I mean by that? Your presentation skills, your dialogues, your closing techniques, your sales skills will improve over time. You'll have a huge jump in those skills during this training and soon thereafter. But you cannot make errors in quantity, meaning if it takes 100 contacts to get a listing, you've got to generate those calls and drop-bys and meetings to have the metrics of contacts compared to listings work in your favor. So you'll improve your quality over time, but if you have errors in quantity, you're dead in the water. What I mean by that is when an agent comes to me and says, Scott, I'm not making enough money, enough commission, I say, okay, let me see your sheets, and they don't even have any, that's a problem. Or they say, I made 6 contacts last week. Well, think about it. If it takes 100 contacts to get a listing and you make 6 per week, it'll take you, 16 weeks to get a listing? 4 months. You'll end up with 3 listings. Very mediocre results. So you cannot make errors in quantity. You have to commit to producing the actions to result in lots of contacts daily. That's what I'm referring to here. Superstar agents, I think you would agree, are great on the phone. They're constantly on the phone. And they're great networkers. So you must commit to becoming a master network. I want to make a couple quick comments about call reluctance. It occurs in all of us at various times, so let's just tell the truth about it. My suggestion is you just leave the fear alone. Don't try to fight it. You're going to have many times when you don't feel like making phone calls. Just sit there, breathe a little bit, calm down, but pick up the phone and call your numbers. Focus on the process of relationship building, not making sales calls, because the two things are totally different. The good news about it is when you focus on relationship building, you take the pressure off. It can become much more fun. This is a key insight. The list on the left is the transactional agent. The list on the right is the relational agent. And I suggest you focus on being the relational agent. Let me explain the difference. The transactional agent is totally deal focused. Short-term income, has to get the deal closed to get his commission check. very salesperson in mindset, always concerned about closing this deal and the next deal. It's all about the deals. It's all about the transaction, right? That's not where your mindset needs to be. You need to be relational in your thinking. The priority you have to have is the relationship between you and your client, because if your deal blows up but you've treated them well and they really respect you, they'll use you for the next deal. I just got off a phone call, 10 minutes ago from recording this, talking to an agent where they had a 2-month deal that blew up, but the client loved Brian. He's one of our agents named Brian. And he immediately put him back in escrow for a house for $1.4 million because he's great at managing the relationship. And this is how you build a geometric growth business. You meet the needs of both the deal, the transaction at the time, and the relationship. And ultimately, you create an advocate, and you will be well on your way to having a compound growth business. So after 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so of time blocking consistently and religiously, a transformation will start to take place, and this shift will be profound. You'll start to recognize your excuses and your procrastinations. You'll be just letting them be, but continuing to dial your numbers and starting to network more effectively. You'll start to feel a little bit freer. Possibilities will open up. You'll have some good phone calls you know will lead to future business. What I've also seen is you will start to naturally recognize negative karma people and reject that energy. You want to gravitate to positive energy people. As this transformation starts to take place, you will recognize that you're on a new trajectory. This is a very exciting time. And does this sound like a place you want to be? Is it worth going for? I want to make a few comments and suggestions on your work habits. Use the tally sheets daily. Eliminate distractions during your time block sessions. No interruptions, no people invading your office. Seal yourself away. No emails unrelated to your prospecting that you're doing at the time when you're on the phone. You want to rank your prospects as you work through them. We will get into the specifics of ranking in week 2, entitled The Network. You will have some key dialogues for relationship building in week 2. You want to have those in front of you. You have those to look forward to. You're not going to be stuck in a place where you don't know what to say. Trust me, this is going to be much easier than you think with these key dialogues about relationship building. You want to keep the appointments with yourself. Even when you're in the mindset, I don't have anyone to call, which is never true. We'll explain that further. Part of the rules of time blocking is you just have to be there and work through those times when you're struggling. And one last piece of advice. This is another rule. Never leave a contact profile without scheduling the next action with that contact. So we need a few things from an operational standpoint. Business cards, obviously. Cell phone with a headset is very helpful. Your physical tally sheets, just print those out so you can use them without having even to use a computer. You're going to need to choose a CRM. We'll address that shortly. I recommend a couple of documents. We'll get into these in weeks 3 and 4, but those are a performance guarantee for sellers and a buyer rebate certificate to have available if you need it. And you'll need a few other things on this list, and we'll cover that in future trainings. So it's important that you recognize some of these threats so you can meet them head on. Getting burned out, no system, being inconsistent, having no differentiating factor. We're going to help you with that, in particular in the week called The Network, week number 2. Being disorganized, having no ability to manage your cash flow, poor sales skills. We're going to really help you through future trainings with great sales skills. And this is something I see a lot. Agents buzz around from one lead generation idea to the next without ever following through consistently. I don't want you to worry about lead generation projects or expenditures right now. We want to get you into a routine of becoming a master networker, which costs you almost nothing and can be highly effective at producing listings. So here's some quick solutions in terms of concepts to these major threats. As you can see in the yellow text, building a network, time blocking, the 1-2-3 relationship, which relates to our dialogue that we'll discuss next week. So our strategies and our roadmap for you will create natural solutions to these major threats that most real estate agents face. So we want to learn to handle frustration, which is a natural part of the business, by compartmentalizing. We want to learn how to handle rejection with the mindset that it's just a numbers game. You must not become complacent even when you're doing extremely well. You must stick to your time blocking routine. You must have a thirst for learning. We're always learning as a team. And you must come from contribution, not coming from a standpoint of being a salesperson, even though we are salespeople. We basically transform from being salespeople to relationship builders, coming from contribution. So you're an independent, self-employed business person as a real estate agent, and you essentially have 4 departments to your business. Number 1, and most importantly, is the Rainmaker department. That's your marketing and prospecting department that you do daily in your time blocking and your field work in the afternoon with drop-bys and other activities. Number 2 is the deal maker. We'll get to sales skills and closing skills in a future training. So you're going to be well armed and have a lot more confidence as a negotiator and a closer. Operations manager and money manager. Those are 2 different departments that you need to have some skills in, and we're going to help you with both in this training. But dominantly, you're a Rainmaker first. That will lead you to needing deal-making skills, closing skills, and negotiation skills. That's where you spend the vast majority of your time. So what must get done are 3 things: time blocking, phone prospecting, personal notes, and drop-bys. We'll get into number 2 and 3 next week. You must have a CRM and know how to use it. CRM stands for Customer Resource Management. It's a contact management software. They're all over the place. We curate many product categories of sources and resources for agents, and the reason we don't have a CRM recommended in the training is because it changes. So what I would recommend, if you want a new CRM or explore some of the best CRMs out there, email us and we'll send you a link or 2 to the best ones at the time that you make the request. The good CRMs in real estate are going to run somewhere between $29 and $49 a month. They're going to be cloud-based, so you can access them from any device, and they're really efficient and are just a huge asset to keep you organized. So here is your action list for this week and the next 7 days. Assemble your database now and view your database not as a phone list, but as a list of relationships. This is your action list for the week and the next 7 days. Assemble your database now, but it's not really a database or a phone list. It's a list of relationships. Here are places to look: your current and past clients, your spheres of influences, any vendors you've been dealing with in your target market, friends, family, social circles, business relationships. Dig those business cards out of drawers and filing cabinets. You probably, like most of the agents I've coached, have contact information all over the place. There's different ones on your computer, on your laptop, on your cell phone, on your old cell phone, in your drawers, in your filing cabinets. You want to compile all of that information and start putting it in your new CRM. That is not a process that concludes in a week. It can take several weeks, but that is your major action list for the next 7 days until the next training. So that's week 1. Self-Reliance. Next week, we're going to focus on building the network, which is your most valuable asset. Here is a list of things we're going to get into, but the 3 most important things for next week are going to be dialogues, relationship building dialogues. They're going to just change the way you talk to people. How to use personal notes and drop-bys to your advantage. 3 critical areas of relationship building we're going to get into next week. Look forward to working with you then. Thank you.